probably taken it like that, right? How positive you can be for other people in your life, because she was kind of like mentoring how to be a giver. Is that about right? She's kind of like
You've got it down to a T, absolutely, yeah.
Welcome to our first episode of Big Picture Love Stories with Lucy and Naomi. Today's guest is Bento Leal, who has been a relationship skills trainer of several curricula since 2005. He has taught thousands of couples and singles in classroom-type settings at family resource centers, community organizations, churches, schools, substance abuse recovery programs, county jails, and federal prison in California. He is also a frequent guest speaker on relationship-themed podcasts and webinars. In 2017, he published his first book, 4 Essential Keys to Effective Communication in Love, Life, Work, Anywhere. It continues to be an amazing bestseller in several categories and has sold more than 85,000 copies to date. The book is available at Amazon in 3 formats: Kindle ebook, paperback, and audiobook. A link to the book is posted at his website, bentoleal.com. Bento can be reached at bentoleal.com. Welcome, Bento. So happy you've joined us today.
Thank you. Great being here.
We're super excited to talk about your book. I told Naomi a little bit about it, and so the book is titled 4 Essential Keys to Effective Communication. So why keys? Are people locked doors?
Good question. I think that's I hadn't thought of it in that way, but yeah, I think in some ways people are locked up in not understanding how to communicate and why their communication doesn't work. And they might think, well, I know language and my ears work, so how come I have difficulty communicating? But I think the analogy is good that people are locked into maybe a misunderstanding or lack of understanding of what communication can be. And it's a learned skill. You're not born knowing how to talk and communicate. We do our best, but then we learn as we go. But yeah, 4 keys and 4 keys to effective communication in love, life, work, anywhere. That's the full title of the book. And 4 keys. Do you want to hear what they are? The 4 keys?
Yes, please, if you could.
Well, the 4 keys are, the first one is empathic awareness, which I don't hear a lot in a lot of communication skills courses and books, but it's really the awareness of the value of myself and the other person. If I don't appreciate who I am as a human being, and if I certainly don't appreciate who you or somebody else I'm communicating with as a bona fide human being deserving of respect, then already I can get off center, even if it's something that I'm concerned about, we want to talk about. But if I throw out that point that they're a valuable human being, I might just get contentious right from the get-go, and that's not going to be very productive. So empathic awareness of my value and the value of the other person. Number 2 is what I call empathic listening skill, which is to really listen to understand. Stephen Covey has spoken of this, and other great teachers have spoken. The importance of listening to understand what the other person is saying from their point of view, not just from your processing their vocabulary. What are they trying to say? To really try to get out of yourself and into the other person. But the more important or more emotion-laden the topic, the more we want to do that, how to really listen well. And then, conversely, then, the other side of listening is speaking. How do I express myself honestly, and yet in a way that the other person's going to be more open to hear and receive it? If I just get out and I'm all upset and I express myself honestly and I start swearing and I start pounding something, I'm just being quote unquote honest. But then you build, you're all in flames now and you're trying to run for cover. Well, I'm going to say, well, how come you're not listening to me? Well, I didn't make it so easy. So how can I express what I want to say, whatever it is, especially if it's a hot topic where we have a disagreement? How can I express it in a way that you're going to be more open to hear what I have to say and understand me? Because that's my goal anyway. And then if you put empathic awareness, key number 1, key number 2, empathic listening, key number 3, empathic speaking together, that produces key number 4, which is empathic dialogue, which is a process of taking turns where I express myself to you, you listen empathically to me, and you express yourself to me and I listen empathically to you. And the studies in this field of communication is if even one person knows the skill of listening and trying to really be authentic and listen well to the other person, even if the other person doesn't know the communication skills, it can help make things go better. and it can make things calm down. If two people are upset, but one person calms down a little bit, the other person will get tired of speaking too hot and heavy and will come down too. So if even one person knows the skills, then the better. And the reason I picked 4 essential keys is because I've been in many courses where there's 12 keys, there's 16 pillars, there's this, there's that. There's a lot of valuable things, but that could be too much for some people. What are the core things? And my book is not exhaustive of the topic of communication, but I wanted to give some people something that they could grab their hands on and say, you know, I could do that. And at the end of my book, I have the 12-day communication challenge where they step it out one day at a time, just try to practice one thing. So that's the keys. And again, it all stems, I think, from key number 1, which is have self-respect and respect for the other person. Whether you take that from a religious point of view or just a humanistic point of view, just valuing life and the other person. I think that's the big picture. If you ask me, the big picture is that we're all fellow travelers on this planet. And if you take a look at it like the astronauts do, it's really our common home. We really are a family. And so we don't want to lose that dimension. We actually need to stretch our mind to that dimension.
I really liked how you said it takes one, it could just be one person, right?
I like that as well. It's clever because you do notice that if someone's not giving you, it's like if you're not putting fuel on the fire of somebody else, they're just going to run out until finally they come down to a
right.
level, which is lovely.
Right. They're going to run out of gas if they're fire, but they're expecting fire, but you're not giving fire, then sooner or later they're going to flame out and realize that's not the way to communicate. So
yeah, exactly. So that's good to know. That's a good way of you could use that already. But, it was interesting you said that the first key is the value of self-awareness is so important. Would you say it's important for people to address the way they talk to themselves before they even start addressing how they talk to others?
Very good point. And in fact, I bring that up. It's called positive self-talk versus negative self-talk. Negative self-talk, probably all of us are familiar with that. I'm no good. I'm not good enough. Who am I to think I'm that great? Or, you can talk down to yourself. But positive self-talk is I'm valuable, I'm unique, I'm special, I've got some resources, I have a lot of areas to grow in. I'm not perfect, that's okay. But I can make positive steps today and be better today than I was yesterday. So it's a way to basically counsel yourself forward into being the best that you can be. Yeah. And by the way, I should emphasize, because I mentioned empathy, and I should have said this up front, when I use the term empathy, a lot of people think it's sympathy, where you feel for somebody. They had a loss, I'm here for you, I'll send you a card or whatever. That's valuable, sympathy. But empathy means to feel into or feel with somebody. So it's very different than feel for. It means try to really put yourself in their shoes, or more accurately, from their perspective, their point of view, get into their world. So when I say empathic awareness, empathic listening, empathic speaking, empathic dialogue, I'm leading with that term empathy, which is try to put yourself in the other person's place while you're communicating with them. You're in your place. You don't leave your place, but you include them in your world. That's what
I feel like, I was going to say, Naomi uses the skills without noticing. We did what was it? We did carved pumpkins. And she used the speaking skill, to respectfully say, so in England, it's gentlemen to not wear your hat indoors. And so I had male family members that had their hats on. And she asked, oh, is it raining inside? It was such a polite way to say, and I loved it. And they were so, they took it down. And it was nice.
So funny. It's interesting because I didn't even realize it was more like, I suppose I didn't realise that I was more just making a joke, but I suppose it is unusual as a Brit to see someone with their hat on indoors.
Yeah.
That's amazing. It's just so sorry. But yes, it was funny. I think that's everything we do. We'll often approach it with a joke, with a gag, rather than, which I think can be a healthy way of doing things. I don't think it takes away the seriousness of it. I think if anything, it helps break the ice. we're very keen on breaking the ice of anything. I think
Okay.
we sometimes, well, I can't speak for every like person who lives in England, obviously. But I know for myself, with my family and friends, but if it's usually a tricky subject, it's usually you try and make it a more comfortable, obviously, and a more not really cheery environment, but a definitely environment where you can laugh it off and not have so much pressure on, which I think is
right. Kind of relax the atmosphere and people feel more free and not on pins and needles or something.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Which is quite nice. So yeah.
I was going to ask Bento, what was your first reaction when you learned the skills? I remember you mentioned this.
Well, I do mention it early in my book. I was actually working with a nonprofit organization in Oakland, California. I'm in the Bay Area in California here, Northern California. And I was working with a nonprofit organization. We received a federal grant to serve the inner city, families in the inner city with needs that they had. And one of the areas was communication. So he sent me up to a class in relationship enhancement class up in Sacramento, which is about a couple hours north of where I live. And so I and my wife went up there, and I'm thinking I'm going to learn these skills to see if they're good for the people we serve, because I'm a good communicator. So I'm thinking like that. So I'm going to learn these things to see if it'll help these people. Well, I was sitting in class there, kind of almost like arms folded, sitting in the back, Mr. Intellectual, and I'm going to take notes. And she starts saying, have you, when people are talking, sometimes you think about what you're going to say next. And I start leaning forward. I think, I do that a lot. When people start talking, does your mind often wander and think about what you're going to do the rest of the day? And you're looking at your watch and wonder how long this conversation is going to go. I think, yeah, I do that a lot. And then the more she was going with this talk, I started feeling like, well, forget everybody else I'm learning this for. I got to learn this. And so that was the biggest aha moment for me. And I mentioned that early in my book where I have an epiphany, and which is, I haven't been communicating like that my entire life. And here I am already at that time, I'm in my mid 50s, and I'm thinking all the people I've loved and have cared about in my life, and I thought I had great communication with, man, I was just veneer quality. And on many occasions, and then I realized, boy, that's a long answer to the question of how did I get really involved in this situation. So when I had that really wake up call, I got really into it. Then I really got to learn the skills, not only for other people, but I learned them for myself, and it's helped me become a more authentic instructor of skills, because I had an enlightenment myself. So I'm not just saying, hey, this is going to be good for you. I can really testify it was so great for me, and it has continued to do that.
I think that's beautiful, because it's almost like saying we all could use it. There's nobody that, could slide through and say, we're all human, right? We're a work in progress. Yeah. And it's nice to hear, right, even from a teacher, that, oh, they wanted it for themselves too, not just for other people. Like, I don't need it, you need it. Let me give you advice, because I don't don't follow it.
You never stop growing. You never say, well, I'm a perfect communicator now. That's the end of it. No more books, no more instruction. I'm Mr. Enlightenment. Well, wait a minute. You're okay today, maybe, but how about tomorrow? So you always keep practicing. If you're an athlete, you never say, well, I scored a lot of goals yesterday, I guess I don't need to practice. No, you're out there again today, tomorrow. If you're a violinist, you never stop. It's always getting better and better and better. You learn a lot more from peers and from other people and just watching humanity. Do's and don'ts. So it's a great field of communication. And again, most people think they're communicators because they know vocabulary and their mouth works and their ears work. They think I got it going. But that's like you got stuff from the hardware store. You got some hammer and nails and wood. Now you think you know how to build a house.
Right.
You might hurt somebody with that hammer. So you gotta learn. You gotta learn these skills. Just because you got some tools doesn't mean you know what you're doing.
So, yeah. Very good way of putting it. Very good way of putting it.
Let's build a house, not know how, without the instruction guide.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'm really interested to hear your rap song. I think Naomi is too. I don't think Naomi's heard it. I've heard it. I've had the pleasure of recording it.
Sounds absolutely so exciting.
I did this, I created this rap song. I was teaching a lot of classes in jail and in prison here in California. And you meet a lot of rough and tumble people and interesting people. And I thought, I better jazz this up a little bit. So I made this song, and I'll try, I got it in front of me here. I'll try to just do it the way I did it in class, but I got a real kick out of it. So it's called Communication. Okay, you want me to get into it? I'll get into it right now. I'll do my best rap. Okay. There's a lot of frustration in the nation. And when you get down to it, it's really a lack of communication. People talk and want to be heard, but few people listening to a single word. But the solution is clear, and it's plain to see, and it will do wonders for everyone, including you and me. And that's to simply listen and quiet your mind to really understand the other person. Now, that's how to be kind. And when you feel their heart and soul and what they're trying to say, that will open up your mind and heart in a whole new way. So listening, really listening is the ultimate key for healing hearts from relationships for both you and me. Communication, I mean good communication, can open hearts and minds, bring the peace, and save the nation from its frustration. Well, that's it. Move over Kanye West, move over Kanye, and all you guys, get off, I'm on it.
Oh, yes.
I see, that's brilliant. So did you write that for just because you were finding you needed a better way to communicate?
Well, it's a fun thing to do in class. Yeah. It gets kind of everybody on one. It's just fun, and but actually, I think it captures a lot, especially now. Communication. I mean, people in politics and this and that. People are turning each other off and saying bad words to each other, and man, what's going on? Whether it's on political level, family level, whatever level, people are just not communicating well. So I thought I'd just have fun making a song that kind of encapsulated and I guess got into it. I have a lot of fun when I do it in front. They think this old guy in front of the room, what's he doing up there?
You're like, just let me rip. It's so cool.
Who do you think he is? This guy's about 105 years old. What's he doing up there? So I'm not that old.
Brilliant. No, thank you for that. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, that was awesome. Should we do a demonstration of empathic listening? Because we're talking about the skill. It sounds really magical, right? It is kind of magical when you experience it. And I'm sure listeners or watchers or even Naomi is like, what is this experience that makes it like, what is beyond the everyday communication that we have? What makes this so amazing? So do you want to pick on one of us? Should we do like?
Well, why don't I just pose the question to both of you, and whichever one of you raises your hand, then you can say, okay, I'd like to speak that. Here's the topic. Something that has something maybe recently or in the past few months has had some emotional impact on you, whether it's a happy memory or a sad memory or something recently or in the past couple of months that you feel very strong about. Again, it could be something very personal and very, very sad. It could be something personal and very happy, or something in between, or something in general. But something that has some emotion to it, rather than I went to the store yesterday.
Right.
Okay, well, that's interesting. But it could be something deeper than that. Like I talked to my parent, and I found out my dad is really sick, or whatever this is. Then that has some layer of emotion to it. And then I'll try to demonstrate then how to listen and interact based on that. So having said that, does either one of you have something?
Look through my diary and find things.
Sometimes I know, I'm trying to think, well, which one of all?
All these things.
Naomi.
So what springs to mind, I suppose, is that it's mainly sweet with a bit of bitter to it, and it would be so I had a dear friend I met on a pilgrimage I went on with my mother, and you meet all sorts of wonderful people on this trip. It's across Spain. It's remarkable, and her name was Renata, and she was this adorable little German lady, and we just became wonderful friends, my mother and I, with her, and she was on this pilgrimage because she had lost her husband, and she wanted to honor him and leave his memory on and on there and try and recover, and also, but she was so positive, so I learned a lot from her positivity wise, and you know, and then we stayed, so this was when I was 18 years old, I'm 25 now, we stayed friends throughout. So she would send some of her cousins, the Germans are very hospitable and they expect you to be the same, so she would just send cousins and like distant relatives to England. They'll knock on the door at like 8 o'clock at night, and they'll be like, shall we have dinner? And you're like, yeah, sure, just come in. And then you're panicking, you're like, oh god, we were only eating cereal, you know, and nice stuff like that. So so we managed to go over to Germany and spend time with them, but it would be 2 years now, we discovered she was terminally ill. And we rushed down just before Christmas, to see her, and she had, you know, declined pretty quickly. And this is my mum and I, and just spend time with her. She was pretty tired, so she couldn't see us that often, but we spent a lot of the time when we weren't with her with her gorgeous family, who were like our family now. And we were there for about just from Friday till Monday, just a long weekend, spending time with them. And we sort of had to say goodbye to her because we don't know how long she was going to make it. We came home and literally less than a week later she had passed. And yeah, but we still have this beautiful connection. I mean, she's still very relevant in my life now. There's still a lot of things, like she'd bestowed this gift for me, which is in my kitchen. Like, she's given me a charm for my necklace when we finished the Camino together, this pilgrimage. And I learned a lot from her. And obviously I'm still contacted with her family. So that's, it's such a huge impact, an ongoing impact, I guess. So it's a memory and also a living.
And when did she pass? How long ago did she pass?
Christmas 2 years ago.
2 years ago she passed then. Okay.
Yeah. So
wow, you had a deep experience. It was kind of a surprise then when you went on this pilgrimage. You didn't realize you were going to bump into Renate and.
Yeah, I know, and such an incredible human being. I know all humans are incredible, but this one in particular.
A friend for yours, and when you found out she was ill, then or she would come a lot and she'd visit, and she became a fast family friend, and so you have happy memories, but it must have been very sad to have seen her decline, and then
just it just seemed like the impossible happened. When you meet someone, you forget that death is an option. And you just think, that's cool, I'm alive, so you're alive. You know, like whatever, as long as I'm around, you're going to be around because you're so important to me. And then suddenly there's this realization that just how fragile we are, and you're like, oh, just because I love somebody so much doesn't mean that they can't be susceptible to going away. Like, me wanting someone there that's not going to keep them there.
Right.
It was hard for me and my mother both, especially her. They were similar ages. Renata was a similar age to my mum, even a slightly older, so I felt that they connected very well on like having kids and losing a partner. My mum hasn't lost a partner, but she understands it and everything like that, so yeah, it was. But it's always a joy. Like, whenever I think about her, I always, before I go to bed, I always say I say good night to certain people before I go to bed, and she's one of them. So I feel like she knows.
Well, wow. So as sad as that was, and as sudden as you say, you think people are going to be in your life forever, and as long as you're around, they're going to not disappear. But the very fact that it was like that, at the same, as painful as it was, the beauty of it nonetheless is you have an eternal memory with her, and you feel her with you all the time, and you just you're very grateful that she's come into your life.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Great memory. Great.
It is, yeah. No, she's gorgeous. She's absolutely gorgeous.
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 And even though she's the age of your mom, or right around there, more than being like an auntie or something, it's really like a close friend. Is that to you? Yeah, like a real dear friend.
Absolutely.
That's precious.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Naomi, for sharing your really heartfelt story, a real story. And she had lost her partner. That's why she was on this pilgrimage. Is that the point? And
Yes. So her husband, this was his second marriage, but her first marriage.
yeah.
And she had a little locket with his face in it.
Okay.
Good looking guy. They were
She
doing
had to
well.
pick them.
Oh, she was pick him. Oh, yeah. And but considering she had lost her husband so quickly, and like, you know, because, you know, they're obviously no age, and recently, I mean, she was very positive. She was very like, she knew she was quite religious, so she did believe that he was with her all the time. And so she, you know, considering she went there for her own healing, I think she came out of it managing to heal a lot of other people, because, you know. No, I know. So yeah, she was quite an incredible human being.
Wow. So she went there for her own healing, but in the process, she was helping to heal a lot of things.
She was, and I think it goes back to when you say, like, if you're able to look after yourself, you can just happen to look after others. So she was open for positivity, and and she's allowing, and then she's giving that to others, you know.
Yeah, sounds like a very generous person.
Oh, she was. Oh, yeah.
Generous with her heart and her love, and not just commiserating about her loss, but really more.
Yeah, it just came naturally to her, you know. And I know, I get it when people lose people and they can't, you know, it's hard to think outside that experience. But it came very naturally to her.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a treasure, Naomi. Well,
oh yeah, thank you.
We should be all so blessed to have a fond memory like that.
Yeah.
In our life. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you for listening.
That was a great story, and I just it was a demonstration, and it was a very real story, and I tried to put myself to really intentionally really be here for you and to listen well. Did you feel?
Yeah, I was going to say, I felt that you were just listening and you were able, because sometimes I think that's people worry, is that they're worried that they always need to give external reassurance to the person they're listening. You know, they always have to go like, yeah, totally, or, oh yeah, no, I agree with that because, and then they go off.
Yeah.
You were listening, and you were sensing for when it was appropriate or a nice time to come in with, you know, you felt that you had something to say about it, and I could, you know, I wanted to hear you. And yeah, and it just felt very nice and natural, like, just even though we've only just met, Bento, like talking to a you know, it's lovely. So
thank you. You know, there's a chapter in the book I have called Listening Blocks, and many of the listening blocks are done with a good purpose in mind. But people trip over themselves trying to do the right thing, and they end up doing the wrong thing, which might be like what you just said there. Oh, Naomi, I'm sure you're much better now. You know, whatever, comment, and you don't even get a chance, or they might say, oh, you know, and you get 2 sentences out, and they said, you know, I remember a time when I was on a pilgrimage, and they think they're showing connection, but actually they just hijacked the conversation. Even if you feel you have some thought or you have some memory, it's kind of like, let me pause button my video for a moment. I might forget it, but that's okay, because the main thing for me right now is to pay attention to you. A lot of times people want to say it because they think if I don't say it now, I'll forget it. But if the option is either to really understand what you're saying now or forget my thought, listening to you wins. Listening to you wins, even if I don't remember this very valuable thing that I have in mind. But thank you for catching that. And I really wanted to be, it's more than just a demonstration. Bottom line is, that's a real story for you. Naomi, and I know we did it as a demonstration.
That matters, yeah.
But I really value your sharing it, because here we are now live doing it on this interview. But I could really feel your heart of love and gratitude for this person. You say you're in your 20s. That memory is going to last and multiply with you throughout your life, and maybe has been very instructive about how positive you could. And I think that you've probably taken it like that, right? How positive you can be for other people in your life, because she was kind of like mentoring how to be a giver. Is that about right? She's kind of like
you got it down to a T. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, she was, but she had this nice balance of she wasn't exhausting herself to be a people pleaser either. She was able to just be like,
be natural,
who I am, and
that's and what's encouraging there is a person, somebody watching her can say, this person has experienced major loss, but look how they've recovered, and they're not just sunk into the ground because of it. They found a way to still live and be generous with their life to other people. So that's a real good lesson. So anyway, thank you very much. And I'm glad that you felt listened to. That was my whole purpose, ultimately to let you speak and to feel heard. And maybe Lucy, did you pick up anything, or did I try to?
Yes, I think because I'm familiar, with his skills, I'm paying attention to what Bento is doing, which helps Naomi share more. So you're picking words, you're looking for words that she hasn't said precisely. So you're kind of looking for the underlining feeling, which allows her to share a little bit more, right? And then to kind of, get deeper down into kind of a deep level than rather staying on the surface.
Right there, thank you. And I'm trying to say back the essence of what you said. In other words, if you had told me that whole thing and I would have said, wow, that's really interesting. Well, that's nice. Let's go to lunch. Yeah. How much did I really get there? But the point is saying back and I mentioned this, and this is a common skill in listening, is say back the essence of what you heard the person say, and maybe name some feelings that you sense from them that maybe they didn't articulate that word, but maybe you felt she was very generous, or you felt very grateful. You didn't use those terms, but maybe if I said them right and you said yes, then it means I got it right. If I said a word, for example, you didn't take right, you might say, well, it wasn't so much that, it would be more like this. Anyway, a feeling that hadn't been named gets ultimately named, and that gets to a deeper place, like what Lucy is mentioning. But yeah, that's really a key. And again, the more meaningful or the more emotion filled or in a hot topic or whatever, where there's emotions, we as a listener, we really want to give the gift of intentional listening or empathic listening. And that just really honors the person speaking and honors what they're saying and what they're feeling. And again, we park our own thoughts on the subject because we got maybe something to say on that, but it's not about me right now. It's about you. So wonderful. I'm glad you felt heard.
Yeah. Thanks for participating, Naomi. I know a lot of people get nervous about this. I was also going to say that it's also validating somebody's existence, experience, right? Like saying, I see you and I hear you and you're valuable, So I think that's the what you end up feeling at the end, like, oh, I got really listened to, and it just like fills your soul. And
yeah. And I kind of put myself in her shoes there. I think, okay, here I am on this pilgrimage with my mom, and surprise, we meet this lady, and she tells us her story, and we still, and lo and behold, we're having a wonderful time. But when the trip is over, it's still going on and on and on. We continue to meet each other. We communicate with each other. They visit. Hey, what's for dinner? But it becomes something like, at the end of the day, here Naomi is, one of the names she mentions at night is, thank you for Anate for being part of my life. I mean, and it's already years ago that she passed away. So she probably did. Naomi, you're probably going to say that the rest of your life.
I am, yeah. It's every night now. It's for my mum, friends, certain friends, and certain family, and then Renata. So yeah.
I found myself when I was listening to Naomi, I was being an actor in her story. I felt myself not be Bento Leal anymore, this guy over here, but I thought myself, here I am, this young lady with her mom on this trip. So I was participating in there. So empathic awareness in that regard means it's not about me anymore. It's really about live for the sake of the other person, put myself in their world, and suddenly I just disappear, which is all right because I'm trying to put myself there. And then hopefully then Naomi or whoever I'm listening to, the person being listened to, will feel you're here with me. You feel me. And many times, and I've done this with many people, and I've seen hardened people in jail, real tough, and they share a childhood memory, and I'm empathically listening to them, and they talk about how their dad stormed out of their life and or beat them up or this or that, and never do this, never do that, and at the end of it, they'll say, you know, I don't even know you, and nobody's ever listened to me like that in my life. And they'll tell me, I just met you, Bento, 45 minutes ago, and I've shared more to you than I've shared with anybody in my life. And we got other people in the room, and they're not shy to say that. You know, they tell these guys want to wear tough skin because they don't want to look vulnerable in the incarceration. But if you create a climate where people can just be themselves, it's amazing what can come out. And you're really holding a person's heart in your hand. That's why listening with empathy is not just a technique. Or being a true listener, or a true communicator, it's a person is being vulnerable in your midst. Naomi, you are being vulnerable with a very precious story, and you are trusting me not to drop it, or to abuse your story, or in some way mishandle it. You're sharing something precious, and so I want to honor and receive it in that way. So it's, I mean, the analogies just go on and on about the value of listening and speaking, and I think it's the glue that holds humanity together. And one of again, we see right now in today's world, it's a tough thing. And that's why I'm grateful that couples and families and organizations are using these skills now. To read my book, I get a lot of great reviews or feedback. And I'm just delighted. People I don't even know saying, wow, this saved my marriage. Wow. Okay. I'm grateful.
Thanks, Bento, so much. And so, given the current highly polarized times we're experiencing, how do you think empathic listening skill helps reduce tensions between people with different views?
Well, okay. Well, that's a big topic, and of course, being here in America, we've just had an election. There's a lot of fireworks going on right now, and not only here but across the world. And with COVID, the pandemic going on right now, you got a lot of people that are spending more time together rather than apart. Even on a family level, it's like, wow, can we ever get out of this house? You know, and people are crawling all over the place. Nobody can go to school. You know, at different places like here in America, there's a lot of cities where schools are shut down and you can't go out and shop and these kind of things. So there can be a lot of tension. And I think being able to calm down, find ways to calm down. It's all a very big thing is self-care. And I mentioned this also in the book is you get exhausted. If you're going to be a good listener, it takes a lot of energy to be a good listener. It takes a lot of energy to think, to be a good communicator. Sometimes you just got to chill out, read a book, listen to some music, put some headphones on, get yourself into a space where you can calm yourself down. And that's self-care. Sometimes people might think, well, if I take care of myself, isn't that selfish? I should be giving and giving and giving. Well, you're going to get exhausted if you just give and give and give. I know Abraham Lincoln said if he has to chop down a tree over here, he's going to, instead of going that way where the tree is, he's going to go to the barn and sharpen the saw. And otherwise he's going to be swinging with a dull blade. He'll be exhausted. But and Stephen Covey of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, one of his habits was sharpen the saw, the 7th habit, which is calm down. So I think find the things that help you relax, help you get to calmness, and it really strengthens your inner core. And then be generous, but make sure that you do take those pauses along the way so that you can rejuvenate yourself, really reinvigorate yourself. So I'll do that. I'll go for walks. I'll listen to some music. I'll read a book. I think, it's just important to get some fresh air, spiritually, mentally, physically, just aerate, oxygenate your being.
Yeah, so true. And I know you mentioned about in being in the jail system and teaching classes in there. I know you had a story. I don't know if you remember the story about Zip It. Do you remember this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want to share that?
I'll never forget that one. You want me to tell that one real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'm teaching this class in Oakland at this jail, and these guys are It's in downtown Oakland. I'm not going to get into too much detail. I'm not going to mention names or anything like that.
Right.
These guys, there's a county jail for Alameda County, which, some misdemeanors or some lower level problem. That's another jail. But in this jail in downtown Oakland, these are for people that face serious crimes, felonies of some kind. It could be murder, it could be something major, big deal, multi-years, okay, in a penitentiary. So then they're either on trial or been convicted or awaiting sentencing, or they've been sentenced and are awaiting more permanent placement. So it's like a temporary holding tank. So a rough bunch of guys, and it's all men. This happens to be all men. And so there was one guy in my class, and I'm doing this class, and this guy was big guy. There's some people you don't want to, see in a dark alley. I wouldn't want to see this guy on a sunny day. Forget the dark alley. So then I'm listening to his story, and he's telling me, here's the story. I gave the class, I taught the class, and then the next day I come back, and before I get into the next topic, I said, okay, did anybody have an experience of listening like we practiced and taught yesterday, just like I demonstrated now? And he raised his hand, this big guy, okay? And he says, yeah, I did. I said, okay, well, I'll call him Jim. Okay, hey, so okay, Jim, what happened? So, well, I was talking to my teenage daughter last night. Normally, we only have like 15 minutes, and then the phone goes off in here. They just tell you got 30 seconds and it's off. So I don't have much time. So she's going on and on about I'm on the phone with my daughter, teenage girl, and she's going on and on and on, talking about what's going on in school. Now, normally, in a situation like that, I would have told her, just zip it. And he ran his thumb across his neck like that, just zip it. So then, and she would zip it, and then they'd go on to something else and end the phone call. But this time, he said, I was just about ready to yell out, zip it over the phone. And then I remembered, Bento, what you said, which was, no, I got to listen. And then, listen to her with everything. Okay, so you experienced this. And then he said, Bento, then I did something you said yesterday that I couldn't believe I said it. He said, when she was done talking, and I listened all the way through, then I said, is there anything more? And then she said, and then there was more. And everybody in the class cracked up because he took the gamble of saying hoping there would not be more. But he extended the invitation. There was more. So now he had to really not zip it. And I said, and then the call ended. And we all kind of chuckled about it. And but then I honored him. I said, Jim, you are the man in her life. There's all kinds of jokers out there that want to get your daughter and this and that and the other thing, but you're the guy in her life that's her cover, that's her dad, that's her main guy. And the fact that you listen to her, and she doesn't get to see you all the time, the fact that you listen to her like that, she really felt, Daddy loves me. Daddy loves me. And man, you could see his eyes well up, and everybody else, mine too. And I thought, I just want to honor you for practicing something that's one of the greatest gifts you could ever give your daughter in her life, is what you just did yesterday, and listen like that. So hats off to you, and I hope you can continue that skill. So it was a lesson learned for everybody, but that was a big turnaround. So you see things like that in these classes, and they just really, they move your heart. Not only did, here I'm dealing with Jim, and he's learning some skill, but this daughter I don't even know. I haven't had any engagement, any experience with or dialogue with. She's benefiting from this simple class that we're having together, from this gift of Dad. And maybe that will help strengthen her in the world out there until Dad comes home, because she can always feel, Dad's got me. Dad's got me. And if I have something that's on my mind, I can go to him. So I don't know the rest of her life or what's going on, if she's with her mom or whatever. This is a few years ago, this particular story. I don't know if he's still incarcerated or if he got sent to penitentiary or whatever the deal. I don't know. But I do remember that was one of those kind of memorable moments. but they would happen almost every class. I got to tell you, one way or another, there'd be something. So thanks to Lucy for bringing up the Zip It story. He literally ran his big thumb across his neck.
Oh, the visual, yeah.
Oh man, he did that visual in class. He said, "Man, I tell her zip it, man." And this guy knows how to zip it too, if you really want. Oh boy.
We were thinking, Bento. I suppose, like we did it a bit with my example just then, my friend. But we were wondering if you had 3 like major or poignant relationships that you've had in your life that you'd happily just tell us about. Like they can either be strangers you've met for 5 minutes, but for some reason they cling to you, or relationships you're still going on now. They could be great, they could be not so great. Please
All right.
indulge us.
3 most important relationships in my life. I have to think, number 1 would be my faith. I do believe in a creator God. I believe in actually as a parental God, as a heavenly parent, if you will. Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, however you want to say it. I really feel a closeness to God. And then number 2 would be my dear wife, Kimiko. We've been married now since 1979. Does that make 41 years? Yeah, I better be numeric correct. Yeah, 41 years I've been married to the most wonderful person I've ever met in my life. And what's interesting, we both learned a lot from these skills, because I'm a talker and I'm learning how to listen. She's more of a listener and she's learning how to express herself. Okay, that it's okay, because where she came from, the men would do most of the talking, most of the listening. One of those kind of backgrounds. But no, she is my champion. She's my true love. She's my wife. She's my best friend, my confidant. Oh my goodness! So that would be that's right up there with my relationship with God. Let me put it down. Then my kids, we got 3 wonderful kids, a boy who's 36, a girl who's 33, and a girl who's 31. And I love each one of them. And I learned these skills. Those are my 3 base relationships: my faith, my wife, and my kids. But I can say this: I learned these skills when my kids were already mostly grown. I first heard these skills when I was 55 years old. Okay, so I give you an idea. I'm 71 now. So I first heard the skills when I was 55, and I'm thinking, this is great stuff. And I'm thinking, oh man, did I miss the boat with my kids or what? And so I find myself apologizing all the time. But I found this, that there's always an opportunity to make a new start. You can always start from where you are. And I remember my 60th birthday, which is already now 11 years ago. And they were all around the table and happy birthday and big cake and everything. And I went one by one and I had tears in my eyes. I said, thank you. But I just want to let you know, I apologize for not being the best that I could be but Dad, you're great. You're great. No, thank you. But I got to say this. I appreciate that, but I got to say this. And each one, I said, when you really needed me there I thought I was there, but maybe I wasn't. And if I wasn't, I apologize for that. And I'm trying to get better. And I felt so good to say that, and I felt it was good for them to hear that. We have a great relationship, but I would encourage any parent to practice being a good listener early. In fact, I'm doing a book right now on building the parent-child connection with empathic listening. I'm actually, doing a book on that right now. But even wherever you are, if you don't think you've been a good listener, start now. And if you need to apologize, say, hey, I'm learning a few things. I realize maybe I haven't been there 100%. And if I haven't, I apologize. And be sincere about it. Don't just say, well, I said I'm sorry. I guess I'm good. You gotta, they might not forgive you, or they may, but that's their job. My job is to really be intentional about it. So anyway, you asked me, I always tend to go off a little bit on tangents.
No, don't worry.
My faith is number 1, because I do believe in an afterlife. I do believe that there's give and take. I believe, like Renate, that you're talking about, Naomi, your best friend who's on the other side. There is another side, and we're kind of here for a while, and then we are not physically. But I'll leave that to people's faith and viewpoint. But that's dear to me. But then my wife, holy smokes, she is the cat's meow. That is, No, she's
putting it lightly. Putting it lightly.
To say it, yeah. I mean, if I have any good thing going, it's because she's there. That's what I'm thinking. And then my kids, well, I think that our love with them, and that's a you asked a question that really touches me, and those are the three main relationships. And my dear friends, like I've known Lucy now for a long time. Naomi, I'm now meeting you for the first time, getting to know you more deeply just here in a short while. But I think the human connection is just so awesome. And we're designed to be molecular, not just stay alone, stay separate atoms. We're designed to be organic. You look at organic, it means molecules interacting and being healthy. And if they're not healthy, it's cancer. Okay, so we want to be healthy communication. And I feel this is a very organic molecular moment.
Yeah.
Use that analogy.
Yeah.
Would you say that's the big picture? Listen to understand.
I think that's the big picture, and I appreciate the theme of the program, big picture. Again, I think the big picture, the bigger picture of that big picture is the pictures get bigger, right? Is valuing the other person. That's where the empathic awareness comes in. I think, as a human being, this may be your child, but not only listening, but yes, they're my child, but they're a human being. Okay, I don't want to forget that. I don't want to. You're junior to me. I'm elder. You're younger. Well, hold on. Okay, that may be true, mathematically and everything else, but you're a human being. They're a human being. Respect, and then maybe that's the key here. And I mentioned it. Is empathic awareness means to respect the unique and special value of the other person, and respect the unique and special value of yourself. So if you don't have self-respect, it's hard to respect others. So you got to really work here and value who you are. With all your imperfections, that's okay. You're what is it? You're still in development. You're still a human being in training. You're not perfect yet, and so neither is the other person. But I think that would be the biggest picture, is to value the unique and special value of the other person. I would say even the divine value. In the Namaste, I think, or in India or whatever. Namaste, the divine in me beholds the divine in you. And I think whether you put a big D on that or a small lowercase d, the special in me beholds the special in you. And if you do that with your kids, each one of them, I think you're in a good place.
Very beautiful. Beautifully well said.
Very well put, yeah.
Thanks so much, Bento, for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing your new book on parenting.
Yeah, and I have another one coming out, the 90-Day Gratitude Journal. Okay. So people write down their gratitude, become a person of gratitude. Try to cultivate an attitude of gratitude every day for what goes right and even what goes wrong, because you can learn through the difficulties, difficult people in your life. So I think that all packages together. And I hope people get my book. I loved writing it. Okay, I hope they can go to my website.
There it is.
BentoLeal.com. Go to my website, and it's at Amazon.co UK over there in England, or if you're in America, whatever. And I hope it does benefits for you.
So I'll repeat the name of the book that's on sale right now on Amazon: 4 Essential Keys to Effective Communication by Bento Leal.